and welcome to another painting tutorial. The other day I was reading an article about how you can't do glazes in pastels. Well, you actually can. You can do it both in stick pastels and pan pastels. I read that you can do it in pan pastels, but you can't do it in stick. But actually you can do it in both, so I thought I'd show you how you can go about doing that. Why would you want to do a glaze? It's a good question. You can create a sense of transparency in objects like glass or water, or even like fruits and vegetables can have a transparency to them. There's lots of different objects, plastic. But also you can create a sense of depth because the glaze, what it is it's a layer of thin paint separated by either drying, or in our case it's going to be fixative, between another layer of paint or pigment, so that there is a physical barrier between them, creating a sense of depth that your eye can see. So I figured I will go ahead and show you how to do that. I've got all my supplies here. This is a painting where I use transparency. It's a pond, obviously. There is some dark area here which I put in with a glaze of dark brown, and then here I put a glaze of sort of a minty green behind all the pond water and leaves and everything. You may not be able to notice it so much, but it does give it a bit greater sense of depth. You can also more obviously notice a glaze effect over here in the water. The lime green gives it a sense of brightness despite the fact that it is a dark green pond. There is a sense of reflection, just a little bit though. Sometimes glazes are more obvious than others. So I started a painting here. It's again a pastel painting. So I'm going to show you how to do transparency on here, and I'm going to show you on the scrap paper as well. So I'm going to start with the sticks. These are some inexpensive sticks that I picked up for demonstrations or for just practice. So I put some on the paper. I just rub back and forth. Now I'm using my finger to make it a little more smooth. Okay, so it's a nice, smooth, non-grainy look. Now I'm going to spray it real quick with the fixative. This is what's going to make it be a true glaze, because there's going to be a physical barrier between the two layers of color. Now whenever you use fixative, you want to have the windows open, or to be outside, or have a respirator, because this stuff isn't the greatest for you. I do make my own fixative. If you've seen my other videos, you know what I'm talking about. But for today's video, I'm using the spray. So I spray it, and we gotta wait a few seconds for it to dry. Now, if you're making your own, you're gonna be waiting either a couple hours or a day, or you can use your hair dryer. So I'm letting that dry. Let's see if it's dry yet. I'll use my finger. Yep, it's dry. So now I'm going to go back over with another color. I'm going to use this lime green because I think you'll be able to notice it more. It is a subtle effect, but it's one that a lot of oil color painters or acrylic painters use all the time. I don't use it a lot when I'm doing my pastels, but it is actually a nice effect. See? You can see the brown underneath, and you can see the green on top. You could get a similar effect by just doing this, but it's going to look different. This is a non-glaze. This is just the brown. I'm going to mix the green color on top. You'll see that there is a difference between the two because I didn't use a fixative. See, it mixes directly with the color, especially if I use my finger, but see, it doesn't look the same. In a painting, it would be more obvious in a full pastel painting, but you can see there is a difference, and there's a greater sense of depth in this one. So now I'm going to do it with my Panpastels on this scrap paper. Let's see here, what color should I use? I'll do the same sort of thing. I'll use brown. So here is my brown. There we go. You can see how nice and smooth the pan pastel is. Really like them. Anyway, they are very similar to your sticks, but they're very different too. Anyway, so I've got that on the paper. I'm going to spray it a little. And when you use spray, before you start using it, it's always a good idea to turn it upside down and just give it a little squirt to make sure there's no blobs that are going to come off of it. Alright, so now I'm spraying back and forth with the action on the spray. I don't know if that was enough. Yeah, that seems like it was enough. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. Now I'm going to wait a couple seconds for it to dry. Meanwhile, I'll pick out my next color to put on top. I think I'll use a similar color. It's not the same, but it's somewhat similar. So we've got that color. Just because I'm using a sponge and it got dirty, I'm going to use a different sponge. Now I'm going to put the new color on top. Okay. So hopefully this works right. Yeah. Here we go. It is a subtle effect, but there is a better sense of depth visually. See? So those two colors are there, but they're not mixing together. So I'm going to show you what it looks like if I hadn't used the fixative. Now, part of the reason it would work a little bit better if you wait a little bit longer in between spraying it and putting the other layer on top so you could let it really truly dry, but this is for demo purposes. So here we go. Here is the bottom layer, and now for the top layer. Okay. You can see the two colors are mixing together. So there's a difference between the two. It is subtle, but you can create a better sense of depth with glazes than you can when you're just putting one color on top of the other. Okay, so there's that. And now I'll do a quick little demo on this painting that I started. I think I'll work over here. I was going to work on the shadow, but I think I'll just put some light in over here. Because the shadow is going towards your left, your light's going to be over here on your right. So I'm going to get one of my sponges, put a lighter color on it. Actually, I got to spray it first, otherwise it's not going to be a glaze. So again, I'm using this as a way to create a sense of lighting. Now, a glaze doesn't have to be very transparent, it just has to be slightly transparent. It can be very transparent, or it can be just slightly transparent. So I used a little on that edge over here. So you can control the amount of transparency based on your needs. I don't know which one I would rather. I think this one. Okay. I know I'm using the green. I don't want green. I want this color. So I'm making it just a little bit lighter. And it's not mixing so much with the bottom color. So there's a greater sense of depth than if I had just put one on top of the other. It is a subtle effect. It's a more advanced effect. And if you have time on your own and you don't have people watching you, you could get some really interesting effects with it. But the idea that you can't do it with pastels is actually not accurate. So, alright, so that is a conclusion. You can do glazes with pastels. It's not true that you can't. So give it a try. Thank you.